Have you ever followed a diet perfectly? A diet that seemed to work for your friends or your coworkers, but you haven't lost any weight? Or you counted the calories and you cut out all the sugar and maybe even cut out entire food groups like carbs or fat, but then you get on the scale and your weight hasn't budged at all. Or worse, you may even gain a little bit of weight. Well, as an obesity medicine physician, this is something I talk to my patients every day. And right off the bat, no, it's not because you're lazy or you lack your willpower. Most diets fail not because of you, but because of these common but very fixable mistakes that are baked into how we approach weight loss. And a lot of these mistakes is because we don't take our basic human physiology into account. So in this video, I'll walk you through these common pitfalls and I'll go over a simple framework on how to fix those mistakes and how to lose weight and keep it off. Okay, so first, one of the most common mistakes I see people make is to actually not getting enough to eat. Now, don't get me wrong, we have to create a calorie deficit for us to lose weight, but that deficit should actually be pretty small. And we don't want the calorie deficit to be more than 300 to 500 calories per day. And I see so many people doing very unsustainable things and eating 1,000 calories below what they need to maintain their weight. But more often than not, eating such a large calorie deficit backfires and this markedly slows down your weight loss. Now, that may seem counterintuitive, but the bigger the calorie deficit does not result in faster or greater weight loss. And that is because of a process in our body called metabolic adaptation, or it's also known as adaptive thermogenesis, which is our body's way of adjusting our metabolism in response to a calorie restriction or weight loss. So when you're severely undereat and you create a too big of a calorie deficit, then your body tries to conserve energy by slowing down your metabolism more than expected. And this was explained in a paper from 2020 that noted that consistent throughout many studies, calorie restriction induces a reduction in energy expenditure that is larger than the loss of metabolic mass can explain. In other words, as we lose weight, it's normal for our metabolic rate, or how many calories we burn at rest, to also go down because our metabolic rate is proportionate to our weight. So the less we weigh, the less calories our body requires to maintain that weight. But with metabolic adaptation, this decline in energy expenditure is beyond what would be expected relative to the changes in our body mass. So for example, if you started your weight loss journey, let's say at 250 pounds, and you're able to lose 50 pounds, then your basic run-of-the-mill calorie maintenance tracker will tell you that you're now burning 400 calories less at your new weight compared to what you're burning at your starting weight. But with metabolic adaptation, there are physiological changes that are happening that are slowing down your metabolism even further than what's expected. So these calorie maintenance trackers may be completely off because they often overestimate how many calories you burn during the day, even at rest. And unfortunately, we can't really control this, as this is a survival mechanism that we have evolved over millions of years, a mechanism that is meant to protect us from starvation. So as we lose weight, our survival instincts in our brain, they kick in and they start altering our hormones. So our bodies produce hunger hormones like ghrelin, and they decrease hormones like leptin, which is a satiety hormone that helps you feel full. And subconsciously, you also feel more tired and sluggish and cold. And all of that is a result of our brain's attempt to slow down our metabolism and lower the number of calories your body burns at rest. So to bring this back, this is how eating too little or creating too big of a calorie deficit often backfires. And going too much against our survival instinct is what leads to more hunger and more cravings and more food noise. And it severely slows down your metabolism more than what is expected. And this is what makes sticking to your diet impossible to maintain long term. So we have to make sure we don't work against our genetics or against our survival instincts. And we have to realize that losing weight will create more hunger that will try to make us gain all of the weight back. So if you're counting calories, then you should aim for a deficit of no more than 500 calories per day. And ideally, probably more like 300 to 400 calories per day, because this will help you control excess hunger and it will help you stick to whatever diet you choose for a long time. Also, realize that as your weight goes down, how many calories you're eating to maintain the deficit will also have to go down. Because at a lower body weight, we'll burn less calories at maintenance and we'll have to keep adjusting our calories accordingly. And this is why weight loss is so hard and maintenance is even more difficult. because a lot of this is going against our survival instincts and the subconscious part of our brain that our bodies have adapted through millions of years of evolution. Which brings me to my next point. The reason your diet may not be working for you is because you're probably not giving yourself enough time to lose weight. And I realize it's very tempting to try to lose weight as quickly as possible. But trying to do it too fast goes again against our survival instincts. And it leads to yo-yo dieting and patterns of starting and stopping a diet every few months. All because you're not giving yourself enough time. It is much better to lose your weight slowly, but consistently, over a year or 2 years or even 3 years, than to gain and lose the same 10 to 20 pounds every 3 months. And if you focus on losing your weight slower, you prevent the dramatic drop in your resting metabolic rate. And you avoid those wild swings in hunger hormones that can derail even your best efforts or the strongest willpower. And the most important reason why you don't want to rush this process is if you lose weight too quickly, you'll end up losing your muscle mass. And your muscle mass is crucial in helping you maintain fast metabolism. Because the more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. And your muscles, as an organ, is your biggest ally when it comes to avoiding insulin resistance and preventing diabetes. So, if you're not careful and you rush this process, you'll probably end up just yo-yo dieting and actually hurting yourself in the process. Because you'll be losing muscle mass that is crucial in maintaining proper metabolism and proper glucose regulation. So your ideal weight loss will probably be somewhere in the ballpark of 4 to 8 pounds of weight loss per month. And losing it faster than that will put you at risk for not just muscle loss, but things like hair loss or even gallstones or gallbladder issues. Next, another common reason why your diet may not be working is you're not getting enough protein. And there's a lot of hype surrounding protein nowadays, and that is because protein helps us lose weight and maintain the new weight by several different mechanisms. First, getting enough protein is absolutely essential in building and maintaining our muscle mass, which, as I mentioned, is key in any kind of effective weight loss. But beyond that, protein also helps us with appetite regulation. So it improves overall satiety and makes you feel fuller, which is important because remember, losing weight and being in a calorie deficit will make your brain send more hunger signals your way. So getting enough protein is a great way to counteract those inappropriate survival signals. And protein will also help you speed up your metabolism as your body actually has to spend more calories to simply digest it. And we have a study published in the Journal of Nutrition that showed that a high protein diet compared to a moderate protein diet reduced adaptive thermogenesis. That sneaky process that our body uses to slow down our metabolism when we lose weight. And a high protein diet induced a negative energy balance during long-term weight loss maintenance. So during your active weight loss phase, make sure to get at least 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of weight. And make sure to spread out your protein intake throughout the day, as our bodies are usually not able to absorb more than 25 to 30 grams of protein in one sitting. Next, another common reason why your diet may not be working is because you may not be tracking your calories the right way. Now, this applies to the calories that we're consuming and the calories that we're burning. A very common mistake that I see is trying to adjust your calories that you eat to how much exercise you put in that day. And fitness trackers and exercise machines often overestimate how many calories you actually burn. And if you rely on that faulty data to calculate your calorie deficit, well, that mistake may be enough to erase the calorie deficit that we think we may be in. So for that reason, I actually never recommend adjusting your calorie goal to the exercise and only focus on the calories you consume. Now, when it comes to tracking calories from food that we eat, we have studies like this one that show that people often underestimate their calorie intake by as much as 1,000 calories per day. And this is not about being lazy, it's just really hard to accurately estimate how many calories we're actually getting, because the calorie counts on ingredient labels can be off by as much as 20-25%. And if you're not weighing your food and meals and you're just eyeballing portion sizes, then you can be off by enough calories to take you out of the calorie deficit that you think you may be in. And this is actually one of the reasons why I don't typically recommend my patients to count calories long term, because it's just too hard and cumbersome for most people to do for a long time. Now, don't get me wrong, counting calories is a great exercise to do for a week or 2 weeks, or to do when you hit a stall or a plateau, just to reassess how much food you're actually getting. But it's really hard to do consistently long term. And to emphasize, you don't need to track calories to lose weight, but at the end of the day, we do need to be in a calorie deficit or in a negative energy balance to lose your weight. And if you are going to track calories, I would encourage you to do it properly and weigh every single food that you consume. Because if you eyeball it, even small and healthy things like a tablespoon of olive oil or a handful of nuts or that balsamic vinaigrette on your salad can easily add up to extra 440 calories, which is enough to take you completely out of the calorie deficit that you think you may be in. Next, another important reason why you're not losing weight is you're not getting enough quality sleep or you're not managing your stress. And it actually doesn't matter how perfect your diet is. If you're not able to get good quality sleep, then it will severely slow down your progress. And it will make it that much more difficult to stick to your nutritional plan. And we have studies that show that poor sleep can result in a 33% increase in a hunger-stimulating hormone. And consistent sleep deprivation can lead to dysfunction and the regulation of hormones that control our hunger and satiety. So if your sleep sucks, then your ghrelin, which is a hormone that makes you hungry and seek out food, goes up. And at the same time, your leptin, which is a hormone that keeps you full and suppresses your appetite, goes way down. And that is a terrible combination that can lead to unopposed hunger signals that will just derail your best plans. And it will make any diet that much more difficult to maintain. On top of that, poor sleep also increases our stress hormone, like cortisol, which can lead to insulin resistance and accumulation of visceral or belly fat. So fixing your sleep is probably one of the most effective, but usually one of the most underappreciated ways to lose and maintain your weight. Plus, good sleep will also help with other related issues like high blood pressure and diabetes. So fixing your sleep can be a game changer for most people, but understandably, it can also be very hard to execute and stay consistent for a long time. And I'm planning on making a video on how to fix your sleep in the future, so stay tuned for that. Alright, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.